Good morning, it's Vicky from Free From Limits, and I am taking you on my dog walk again this morning to answer a question. This time is a question in response to a question I posed to you, which was, what would life be like if you paid less attention to your thinking? And someone replied in the comments on YouTube that they wanted to know why certain thoughts grabbed their attention more than other thoughts. And before I kind of look at that question, I guess, or at least attempt to answer it from my understanding, I first want to point to the start of the question, the why, because whenever I ask a why question, or when a client asks a why question, or when anyone asks a why question really, I just ask them to stop and think about where that question's coming from. Like, how do they know of the question? And what I'm pointing to there is that it's another thought that's being paid attention to, that seems important, seems like it needs to be paid attention to and answered. But actually, it's just another thought. And the answer will also come from another thought, or another belief, or another idea. And so I just suggest, whenever the why question comes up, to take a little pause, because those why questions can lead us down into a big old dark rabbit hole, and round in loops, because there is no definitive answer to that sort of question. Obviously, to the question of I don't know, why does weed killer work? I just saw a weed, so then there's probably you can probably Google that and find an answer. Why do we pay attention to certain thoughts and not others? I mean, anything that I come up with, that anyone comes up with to that, is going to be made up. So if we just stop for a moment and kind of disconnect from thinking, then is the question still there? Does it need an answer? Where's the need for that answer coming from? To me, it looks like it's coming from a mind that's always needing to know things. But actually, when we come out of that thinking, when we come out of that mind, is there anything to answer? And just to notice that, when we were first on this planet, though we didn't have that. We weren't born with a why question. We weren't trying to explain everything. We were just experiencing everything. So point you back in that direction, and just, like I say, just become aware of all the why questions that your mind asks. Notice that they're known in thought. If you disengage from thought, then what? Does it matter? Is it important? And just to notice that when you're disengaged from thought, the answer is always going to be, I don't know. That's the truth. Don't know. And that's probably the answer to most why questions, is that we don't know. It just is. And so I could leave that question with that. We don't know. We don't know why certain thoughts are paid attention to, and why others aren't paid attention to. And that's the absolute truth. They just are. If a thought's being paid attention to, it just is in that moment, and that kind of stops the seeking, the searching, the kind of endless loops, I guess. It just stops that in its tracks, stops the mind in its tracks. So, sorry, hand in front of thing. My arm's aching from holding the camera up today. I don't know why. Probably because I did a billion salutations to the sun yesterday in yoga. Anyway, rather than stop there, I'm just going to give a little explanation from what it looks like to me as to why certain thoughts are paid attention to and why others aren't. And I was thinking about it in terms of my dog. I'm just going to let her off her lead. So she reacts to squirrels and cats, goes absolutely mental when she sees them. And I could ask the why question, but it's kind of like, it's just kind of accepted that it's sort of in her makeup. It's just, for whatever reason, whether that's genetic or learnt or whatever, for whatever reason, she reacts to those things. It's just sort of programmed into her. And I would say the same about what thoughts we react to or don't react to. Is simply, like I said, when we were first on the planet, we were like unwritten books. We didn't have any rules, we didn't have any ideas, beliefs, concepts. We had none of that. And as we have got older and grown through life, we've picked up ideas, beliefs, concepts, ways of operating, and they all are kind of programmed into the system, and then we act and behave accordingly. So there'll be certain things, experiences that we've been through that mean that certain thoughts trigger us and other thoughts don't trigger us, and you can see that there's certain things that might trigger you that don't trigger anyone else, or no one else in your family is fearful of flying and you're fearful of flying, and you weren't fearful of flying when you were born, when you first came onto the planet. It's something that's been picked up, and so why we react to certain thoughts and not others is, as far as I can see, just simply something that's been programmed in, an experience we've had, something someone said, an idea or a belief that somebody's kind of innocently given to us, and we've just taken it as truth. And so when some thoughts pass through our awareness, there's a reaction, in the same way that when a squirrel passes in front of my dog, she barks crazily and goes mad. So yeah, I'm going to end it there. I've got to pick up a poo, so it seems like a good place to stop. If you've got any questions, or if you've got a question that you'd like me to answer, then please do let me know, and I will see you again another day. Bye.